My mum finds me at 4 o'clock in the morning. I am like shivering, sweating, over the bin, passing out.
Oh my God.
It was just horrendous, and it was probably the worst period I'd had since I'd had that a couple of years before. And this was only last year.
Honestly, I could scream. I could absolutely scream. I keep hearing this same line over and over and over again, and it's not that I'm surprised. It's just, it's anger.
I don't think this is normal, but to say she put it in and then she like cranked it open.
Oh, what the hell counts as bad enough?
This is what
If
I'm thinking.
throwing up and passing out, like,
Yeah.
you know what, you don't quite meet the threshold. Like, good effort, but like, we're not.
Try. Yeah.
Try a bit harder next time.
Mind.
Like, be a bit more dramatic, be a bit more shocking. I'm not really feeling the like wow factor yet.
Which is crazy. And then she says, so we did find endometriosis. And then all of a sudden, it's just, I can still remember it. It's like this huge sinking feeling on the inside of me of, okay, what do I do now? 6 o'clock the next morning, in my pill container, as I'm half asleep, Dynagester's in there after I'd said no.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like Netflix documentary worthy.
Yeah. Accidentally complained to the head of gynae for the East of England. Which was great.
We accidentally.
Good job, Victoria. How is this affecting the dreams that we have? And how can we all find a way collectively to find a way to not have to hinder our dreams because of our conditions? That's the main goal of OvaryReaction.
Ella, welcome to the Girl Chat.
I'm so excited.
It's so nice to have you here. You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
Loving the outfit. Thank
so
you.
Cute.
You can't beat Zara.
No. This is Zara.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Zara twins.
a little bit addicted, to be honest.
Yep.
It's so nice to have you here. I am really intrigued by our conversation because obviously we're going to talk about the conditions because you're lucky enough to have multiple conditions.
Yes.
Not just one, but two for the price of one. Yep. But also you've got an amazing business and brand that is really relevant in this space that I really enjoy all your social content. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. But I'd like to start when you realised that something was wrong. When was that and what did that look like?
So I'd actually started my period when I was 12. And then by the time I hit 14, I'd already started throwing up in school, passing out. I would be sent to medical and would be lying horizontally until my mum or my grandmother would pick me up.
Oh my God, at 14?
At 14. And that's when they put me on, I think it was mefenamic acid at that point.
Okay.
Because paracetamol, ibuprofen already wouldn't even hit the pain.
Wow.
And then it kind of just kept building and building.
Did you have heavy bleeding then?
Hugely so.
Okay. Yeah.
I would be bleeding through pads and pants constantly. And when you're in school, like that's just not ideal. And teachers going, you can't go to the bathroom, you know, unless it's break time. And I'm thinking, oh my God, no. But it's like, what can you do? And then by the time I was 16, obviously it's GCSE time and I'm missing the first day of my period every single month.
Yeah.
At least. And at kind of this point, people are kind of thinking, oh, is she just kind of, you know, bigging it up a bit and wanting a couple of days off every now and then?
Yeah.
But I would wake up in the mornings and my mum would still find me in bed after I was there kind of like huddled over with a hot water bottle and her being like, you need to get up for school. And I was like, you're going to have to leave me. I'll try later, but I can't now.
Wow.
And I would just kind of get to this point where I'd have to take the painkillers, sit in bed with the hot water bottle and just hope that in the afternoon it would be more manageable. And that, I mean, that was from 14 and then it just kept ramping up to the point where no painkillers were helping.
That's
Tried,
awful.
I think it was tranexamic acid at one point. I think it was tranexamic acid. They've had me on naproxen for ages. And then it gets to the point where they stop working too.
Oh my God. Yeah, it just reminds me of like when we're in school, so especially secondary school, and all the girls got to that age where they're like, oh my God, like I'm just going to tell the teacher like I'm on my period and then I don't have to do PE. And it became like this joke that it's like, oh yeah, just say you've got like girl issues and then you can like get out of class or get out of PE. But the reality is that you weren't making it up. You were literally having the most horrific time.
Yeah, this is it. I remember in my A-level classics class and it was one of the worst periods I had in those 2 years. And I was basically shaking, sat there thinking, well, we've already missed a lot of school because of COVID. Can't really miss these kind of classes now. And I had no hot water bottle. You're in a classroom. And I was just kind of sat there, like my legs shaking with the pain, feeling like, oh, I'm going to be sick.
Oh my God.
And it's like, you know, this is a huge problem that I don't think is actually getting enough attention for the younger generation. You know, if it's taking for endometriosis, 8 years for a diagnosis, you're out of school by the time that it actually matters. But this fundamental point in your life that kind of builds the trajectory for what you're doing next is hugely impacted.
Yeah.
And your sense of social self with your friends too, who kind of go, oh, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, it's socially isolating because you either get comments or you just sit in your own head and you go, why am I different to everybody else? Like, literally, why is nobody else experiencing this? Or like, I remember talking to my best friend in school and just being like, oh, by the way, like, what are your periods like? Like, kind of like, is it really bad? And she was like, no. She's like, I literally wear like a panty liner for like a few days and that's it. And I was like, that's got to be a joke. Sorry. Sorry. Feel like there's been a really unfair like divvying out of cards here. Like, that does not sound right.
Yeah.
But talking about school, because you're right, we have to start tackling primary school, because we're waiting till we're like, 12, 14. I was 16 when I got my period. But I was like the absolute end of the scale in terms of what's like normal to have it.
Yeah.
But we're talking like 7, 8 years old for some girls.
Yeah.
But it's seen as really like a sexual thing. That's really interesting. I was talking to the Menstrual Health Project and they were saying that it's really hard for them to get into schools to do menstrual health education in primary school, because loads of parents and some teachers just see it as, oh, it's a sexual thing because we're talking about pregnancy and sex. But actually, the menstrual cycle is completely different. You don't have to bring sex into it at all.
No, it goes so beyond that. And I think even just thinking about women's health as a whole, what it is versus what it could be, there is such a huge gap still. Yeah. And I think there's a lot in it needing to be taken more seriously. I think to bring up the ads on the tubes recently.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, you're from London. Tell me about the ads.
So there are some ads where I think it's men's hormone testing. The wording off the top of my head, one of them was men get hormonal too. But there were a couple of others as well. And it was like I can't actually remember off the top of my head all of them.
That's the one that I've seen though. It's this kind of like beigey, kind of creamy, massive poster on the underground, and it's like men get hormonal too. Yeah, which is clearly playing on the joke of the fact that women for generations have been like, oh, you're just hormonal, or you're just like getting too emotional or too PMSy or whatever it is.
The other one was, it's not him, it's his hormones.
Oh,
and I think there's so much space for research into hormones, both for men and women. I think that is so important. I think the key, and I think what has been the driver of the backlash from women and actually quite a few men who have kind of taken a look at this, has been, this isn't equal language here. So we're saying the same things, but they've not got equal connotations and they've not got equal social weightings. Yeah. And it's one thing to say to a woman, oh, it's not you, it's your hormones. But that comes with the weight of, well, you're not good enough in work. Well, if you're doing that, you're being irrational, you're being too emotional. This is too much to handle. And with men, it's just, well, it's not him, it's his hormones. Like, get him off the hook. Yeah. And I think there's a market for them, and I can see from a marketing perspective.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it hits their target audience.
Bravo to the team, because it's very clever.
5 stars.
It's worked. Everyone's talking about it. Yeah. We're all having a discussion about it. It's exactly what marketing's meant to do. Yeah. And I almost don't even mind the phrase if it was the fact that phrase has always been associated with women first and foremost, and it's always been a way to undermine someone's experience. Yeah. So if it was like, it's not her, it's her hormones, in an empowering, like, don't kind of ignore this woman's cry for help because there's testing we need to do. We need to investigate. Great. Like, I'm here for it. But it's not that, and it's never been that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that's another point of where women's health is and where it could be. These are £20 tests for men. And,
oh my God,
even just for private blood tests to check your hormones, they're like £60, £70. And it's like, where is the push for us to have, we want to live in an equal society, so then let's put us all on equal ground here. Yeah. And I think it does a great job to hit their target audience. I think it does an awful job socially, playing on huge misconceptions.
And have you heard the story recently about the woman that was arrested and she went to magistrate's court and her case got dismissed? I think she like assaulted a police officer or something, but it got dismissed because she used the menopause and the effect of the menopause on her mental health as like a reason behind why she acted out.
Okay.
So I don't know the full details of the story, but I think that there was like a disturbance at a house and the police were called to the house and it was like heated, or there was like some strong conversations, and the police basically said, we need to take you to the station to kind of continue this conversation and do some paperwork. And I think she was like in her pajamas or something. She was like, can I go and get dressed to at least have some like dignity to go to the station? And for some reason, the police officers were like, no, you can't. You need to come with us right this second. So she lashed out in some form or shape or size. And then it went to magistrate's court and she used the fact that she was going through the menopause and it had a really catastrophic effect on her mental health and she may have suffered from like depression or anxiety beforehand. And she won her case and the judge was like, yeah, that's a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
We look at that and we go, okay, like she got off and the case was dismissed. And they were having discussion about it on the radio and I was listening to it. And you can just guarantee the response of like all the men were texting or emailing or ringing in being like, oh, what a cop out. Like, I wish I could use the menopause just to get like off scot-free. You know, all the classic things you'd expect to hear. And then women were ringing in and being like, actually, yeah, this is classic. The rage I get with menopause is like horrendous. And I feel very seen by this. But again, all the men are just like, yeah, whatever. And it just makes me think of that new ad of like, it's not him, it's his hormones. And I'm like, yeah, but it works when it's convenient.
Exactly. Yeah, this is it. And I think convenience is a huge part of women's health on both sides. You know, we're looking at the convenience of what is allowed for us with our conditions. And we're looking at the fact that I know a lot of women with PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, whatever it is, who feel just like an inconvenience to everybody too.
Yeah.
The kind of weight that all of a sudden it's like you just put this coat on of this weight of, well, I feel like now this factors into my social life, this factors in to whatever partner I have, to the way I feel about myself, the way I live my daily life. And it's kind of a question of where is the line of how do you keep a convenient life for yourself? And when you get diagnosed, is there ever a way to not put that coat on?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No, I'd love to be told because you're made to be an inconvenience in the system. Like this happened to me recently. I literally went to the doctors recently because I've come off Mirena coil. The first time I've not been on like any medication or contraception, and touch wood, it's going quite well.
Okay.
But I've realised obviously 10 years of being on suppressants or, you know, different medications, my hormones are probably at the moment going a little bit crazy because they're trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go and get my hormones tested at the GP and get some blood testing to check like ferritin and iron and things like that. And I know that in order to have like a good measure of my hormones, I need to test different ones at different phases of my cycle. Otherwise it's going to be completely pointless getting these tests. So I went to the GP and said, like, these are my symptoms, this is what I've had in my journey recently, I'd like to get these tests done just to check my levels. And they were like, yeah, that's absolutely fine, we'll just do all of it on this day. And I was like, oh no, actually, like I'm going to need to come in to the nurse at this week, and then can I come back in 2 weeks' time because I'll need to do progesterone or estrogen at a different point in my cycle. And the GP literally looked at me and they were like, why?
Sorry?
I was like, what? I was like, why? And they're like, yeah, why is that necessary? And I was like, well, I'm not sure I want to tell you because I feel like you should. Like, are there cameras in the next door? Is this like a wind up? Is this like a you've been framed YouTube moment? I was like, because my levels are different at different levels at points in my cycle. In order to get an accurate reading, I need to do it at the right point in my cycle. Otherwise, I'm going to get a result and it won't make any sense to me or help me. And they're like, oh, but you know, that's a bit inconvenient. Can we not just do the test at once? So I'm like, oh my God. No. Like, I shouldn't be the one sat here saying that. Like, if I'm coming to you saying like, this is all the context, this is why I need to get these level checked because they haven't been checked in about 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, why? Why do you need to do it at different points in your cycle?
Oh, that's so shocking.
I know.
I don't think I've heard something quite that crazy in a while. But that's like, this is a huge part of it. And this feeling of being an inconvenience because there are extra steps that you have to take. You know, it's if you're trying to stick with an anti-inflammatory diet and your friends want to go out, well, how do you fit into that?
Yeah.
You know, if your partner wants to go on a date, how do you fit into that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, how do you go out with your friends if they want to go drinking and that puts you in a flare up? And
yeah, if you want to be sober, if that's what you want to do, but no one else your age is doing it, how does that work?
Yeah. And I think there's a sense of needing to have a very strong self-compass to kind of forge your way through, I suppose, what looks like being different to everyone around you in a sense. But I think what comes with these conditions too is they can completely strip your sense of self back.
Oh, yeah.
The second that it happens. So being able to retain that sense of, oh, well, I'm just going to do this my way, kind of goes out of the window, at least for a while, as you're kind of trying to build yourself back up again. It's a difficult thing. Obviously, I got diagnosed last August when I had my surgery.
Yeah.
And then PCOS only a month and a half later.
Oh, word.
And this was from years of people and doctors telling me, well, you probably don't have endometriosis because you don't have it that bad, despite throwing up pretty much most months and passing out on the floor.
What the hell counts as bad enough?
This is what
if
I'm thinking.
Throwing up and passing out, like,
yeah,
you know what, you don't quite meet the threshold. Like, good effort, but like, we're not.
Good try. Yeah.
Try a bit harder next time.
Mind.
Like, be a bit more dramatic, be a bit more shocking. I'm not really feeling the like wow factor yet.
Which is crazy because I'd waited a year and a half to even see a consultant to even question about surgery. And in that time, I had a period where I'd woken up, I think it was like 3:00 in the morning, went inside and I kind of knew. It's one of those that I was like, I have 10 minutes to get painkillers and a hot water bottle or I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
Did the painkillers, did the hot water bottle, out on the bathroom floor.
Okay.
So my mum finds me at 4:00 in the morning. I am like shivering, sweating, over the bin, passing out.
Oh my God.
It was just horrendous. And it was probably the worst period I'd had since I'd had that a couple of years before. And this was only last year. And she was like, is this the worst you've ever had? She was like, this really isn't normal.
No.
So she calls 111 because she's like, what the hell is going on with my daughter on the bath? I was literally lying there like a bug on my back.
Oh
just
my
like it
God.
was like also bright fluorescent bathroom lights probably didn't help.
Like drenched in sweat as well. And the fact that your body was like involuntary shaking to the point where you're like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm not controlling this.
The pain was just so horrific. And that was with, I think I had paracetamol codeine mix. I'd had my naproxen, had my tranexamic acid. And it's like, what on earth are you left with?
Yeah.
So she calls 111. And they say, okay, well, we'll get a doctor to call you back. Like, is she pregnant? No, great. So they obviously think, are you having a miscarriage? Wasn't, obviously. And then the doctors rang me back and they were like, well, it's just your period. Have you tried the pill? Oh, tried the pill? Yes, I've tried the pill. I've tried many a pill, actually.
Oh my God.
And I don't do well on hormones. I'm actually on a pill at the moment.
Okay.
I've tried. I've done my fair share of trying and error. So they called back and they were saying, well, maybe you need to go and see a consultant. And thankfully, my mother was on the phone. Was going, excuse me, Mr. Doctor Man. She's been on the list for a year already. So then it was like, well, here's some more tranexamic acid. Good luck next month if you don't go on the pill.
Oh my God.
So the time comes around to see the consultant.
And when you say consultant, are we talking gynecologist?
Gynecologist.
Okay.
Gynecology consultant at the hospital. So it's now been a year and a half since I'd been fighting for years to try and get somebody to actually try and work out what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And also, there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
When you say, find out what's wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Go and see my consultant. After a year and a half, I walk in the door. I have a sheet of paper with my symptoms of saying, well, when they, did internal scan a year and a half ago, everything was normal. They didn't see anything, but here are the symptoms that have increased now. I had 3 A4 pages, and she didn't even let me get through the first paragraph of telling her my symptoms.
What?
So I was saying, this is happening. And she was like, well, are you on the coil? I was like, no, I'm not on the coil. But, I'm having clots every month that are the size of tomatoes. Like, that can't be normal. And she was saying, and her words were, if you don't go on the coil, there's nothing more we can do to help you.
Oh my God. Honestly, I could scream. I could absolutely scream. I keep hearing this same line over and over and over again. And it's not that I'm surprised. It's just, it's anger.
Yeah.
It's Oh.
It was awful. And this was the first doctor's appointment I'd gone to by myself, because for years I'd been like, oh, I'll bring my mum. And I was like, no, I'm a grown-up adult woman now. I'm going to go by myself. And I'm never doing it again.
No.
Because I was in and out within 7 minutes. And so she didn't even listen to my speech about my new symptoms. So she didn't know that I was having these symptoms. She just knew that I'd been having bad periods. And then she said, okay, well, we'll do an examination. Is that okay with you? I was like, yeah, okay. Normally, obviously, they talk you through that, right? So
well, yeah,
I
considering it's like intimate and someone's literally putting something inside you.
Just got told, lie on the bed, take your trousers off, put the thing over and we'll be in. And then, no, like, this is what we're going to do. It was the first time I'd had a speculum inserted with I knew what it was.
Yes.
Like, I kind of had knowledge of what was going on, but I was like, she didn't explain this to me at all. I've never had a smear. I was 22 years old at the time. So...
Oh, it's not a pleasant experience the first time if no one walks you through it.
No one walked me through it. And I'm not kidding you. I don't think this is normal, but to say she put it in and then she, like, cranked it open.
Oh...
It was hell.
Oh.
And then, obviously, like, she puts her fingers inside of me, and then she just, like, prods about my cervix. And she just said, I'm just checking to see if your womb is active.
What? What does that mean?
I don't know. To this day, I still don't know what that even meant. If my womb was active or not.
I feel like we're talking about turning the computer on. Like, I'm just going to check to see whether we've actually turned the computer on.
Basically.
Whether it's just sat on the sub bench. Like, is it actually on the field playing football, or are we just sat subbing out, not doing anything? Like, what does that even mean?
It was crazy. And then she went back into her room, and then I was ushered out of the other door. So at this point, I didn't know if I was being put through for a laparoscopy. I didn't know, like, what was going on with my active womb.
Hold on, she did this awful examination and then she just leaves the room and you just get told to be like, see you later.
Put your trousers back on and off you go. So, being the woman I am, walked back into her room.
Oh, bravo.
And said, how long is the wait for a laparoscopy? And she laughed and she went, 65 weeks if you're lucky. And I went, okay. And then I walked out, and that was the end of my appointment.
I'm sorry, but like,
so
laughing, good girl.
So I put a complaint in. I went home, and I got in my car first, and I cried.
Yeah.
Went home, cried to my mum. My mum is an angel with this. She's great. And she was like, right, we're going to put a complaint in because this is crazy. You've waited 1.5 years. She didn't listen to your symptoms. She didn't talk you through what she was going to do either.
No.
And then... she's not handled this at all.
She's laughed in your face.
Yeah. I was like, what on earth? So we'd accidentally complained to the wrong person. So we were supposed to go to, like, the head of gynae at the hospital.
Yeah.
We accidentally complained to the head of gynae for the east of England. which was great.
We accidentally
Good job, Victoria. And we had an email back within 2 hours. He wasn't actually working there anymore, but he then had passed it through to somebody else.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredible. And then I had an appointment within 2 weeks for a letter, and then it was 2 months' time. Because
oh my God.
the complaint was really detailed, saying, she's waited 1.5 years for this appointment. Here's the appointment that she's just had. How are you expecting her to wait another 1.5 years for this? And I think there is a huge problem with the wait list because, you leave something like endometriosis and it's festering and that is growing and fusing more things together.
Well, it's having a whirl of time. And I think that's what angers me the most about that ridiculous comment she made about, like, well, if you tried the core and if you don't try the core, I can't do anything. That's why it's such bullshit, because with suspected endometriosis, and it was only suspected at this point, in your own head, she didn't know enough information to probably have a clue. But with any suspected endometriosis of these kinds of symptoms, that is probably the most dangerous thing that really winds me up, because it is a disease. Unless it is managed and you have surgery and you physically remove the root of it, it's just like wildfire. And even then, the reoccurrence rates are still really high.
This is it. So then I had another appointment with her before my surgery.
You went back to her?
I went back. Oh and my mum obviously came with me this time. And we sat in there and the consultant kind of was like, oh, so how's everything going? I was thinking, well, not great, actually, but thank you for asking. And she was saying, well, obviously, it sounds like you also suffer from IBS. Do you want to wait to get that under control before we do the surgery? And I was thinking, I don't think IBS makes you pass clots the size of tomatoes, if I'm being honest.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was a joy. And then obviously I had the surgery a couple of weeks after that last appointment.
Yeah.
So she'd been pushing the coil on me still. And at that point, I was still like, I'm not going to take hormones. I'm going to try and see if the surgery is going to help with anything. So, you know, this whole time I was told it's probably not endometriosis. It's not that bad. You know,
Oh, it's just IBS.
It's just a period, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I have the surgery and I wake up, I'm in recovery, completely high, which is always the perfect time for the surgeon to come round and tell you.
I know, like, morphine's great. I mean, like, you can have a whale of a time on morphine.
Yeah.
Is it the time for a really important discussion where I need to remember what the hell you're telling me? Maybe not.
Probably not. So she comes round and she shows me the pictures. Mind you, I am feeling violently unwell from the anaesthesia. See the pictures and I'm like, oh God, okay, great. And then she says, so we did find endometriosis. And then all of a sudden, it's just, I can still remember it. It's like this huge sinking feeling on the inside of me of, okay, what do I do now? And just kind of lying there thinking, I've got nobody to talk to about this. I don't know anyone with endometriosis. I know people that have bad periods that maybe have it. And all of a sudden, I felt so alone.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2 days after that I started OvaryReaction, because it was literally lying in that recovery bed, high as anything, thinking, well, if I feel like this after surgery, 1 in 10 women have endometriosis. There's bound to be other women that are waking up. And I hate to think that other women are feeling that sense of like, oh, and I'm all by myself. So that's kind of where OvaryReaction came from.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Before we talk about that, when she came and told you the results, did she tell us she'd removed anything or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was, I still haven't had my follow-up appointment. It's next week. So I'm still not entirely sure what has actually happened.
How long ago was surgery?
Last August.
You haven't had a follow-up after surgery since last August?
No, we were supposed to have one at the end of December, but then it was cancelled. So then this was then the next one that it worked. So from what I remember, my limited memory of that time was it was superficial endometriosis. So it was just like a cling film layer, except it was all over my organs. I'm not entirely sure which ones yet. All over the back of my womb, the front of it, and on the inside of my stomach wall. And I have fibroids too, which were kept in there, which I'm still not quite sure why they weren't removed, but I'm guessing I'll find out next week.
Oh my God.
So it's, you know, it's not like it's stage 2 or stage 3, but it was everywhere. And obviously I don't know yet how much of that has been removed.
Yeah, and how they did it or what tools they used or oh my God. To have surgery and to have to wait like, I don't know, 8 months, whatever it is, almost like coming up to a year. And without any answers.
I'd asked her beforehand, could I have a copy of the notes of what you find so I can read them at home? She told me, but you wouldn't understand them. And I was saying, no, I probably wouldn't understand, but I'd kind of like to maybe try.
You also could use tools widely available to every single person on the planet to find out what those things mean. I mean, it's not exactly like she's the art of explanation.
No.
I mean, the woman did an examination and didn't talk you through anything that was happening.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like she's kind of, you know, the dab hand at explaining things, if we're being totally honest.
No, this is what I was thinking. So, I mean, still right now I have not that much idea. I mean, I'm kind of assuming that some was left from what I remember her saying, that it couldn't all be removed because of where it was.
Okay.
So it's still there. But it was obviously never picked up during my surgery that I had PCOS.
No.
Which is something that I obviously need to bring up with the consultant. How was that missed?
Yeah.
During the time that you were opening me up and looking all over.
Because you must have looked at your ovaries. Like,
she peeled the lining off the back of my ovaries.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Yeah. And then it was a month and a half later, I had my first burst cyst, had no idea what was going on. I'd already ovulated pretty much straight after the surgery.
Okay.
So I'd already had one normal ovulation.
Yeah.
And then it was the second ovulation afterwards. And I remember being in my bedroom and it kind of started a bit like period cramps around ovulation, which isn't uncommon for me. So I kind of thought, okay, probably just ovulating, that's fine. Then it started to like ramp up, and I was thinking, God, it feels like my period is starting. This is really weird, but no bleeding. Take some more painkillers, and then it gets to the point where it starts to kind of like go into my back, the pain, and then down my legs.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, I start to feel sick. And then I get this shooting pain as if I've been electrocuted in my right ovary, and I just collapse and scream on the bed. It was just the most excruciating pain
Oh my God.
I have ever experienced. It was just nothing, like, it's so indescribable.
And really shocking by the sounds of it as well.
Yeah, it kind of like just kept building and building. And then I was thinking, oh God, something's like really not right. This is worse than a period.
Yeah.
And none of the painkillers I'd taken beforehand had even come near to touching it. And I'm, thinking, God, I'm going to be sick at this point. I feel I'm going to pass out whenever I walk. I can hardly walk. Like, whenever I put my right leg down, I get the shooting pain up into the ovary.
Oh my God.
It was awful. So I go to A&E and I'm thinking, God, what the hell is going on? I'm seen pretty quickly because they're going, well, your heart rate's all over the place. Like, you're not looking well. You've obviously had surgery 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This can't be great. So they end up taking me in and admitting me. And it's, 24 hours until they actually do the scan anyway, because it was overnight and they only have them in the morning.
Right.
So they kind of like prod around a bit. And it was crazy because even in triage, when the nurse prodded me and she was like, well, it's probably just ovulation pain. And I was saying, no, I assure you this is not ovulation pain. And she prodded my stomach, and I remember, and I just kind of like folded in half on the bed and just went, ah! It was just awful. It couldn't even be touched. Like, not even like that.
Like just like a gentle.
It was a
like
gentle touch.
Any kind of, yeah.
Any pressure. And then been admitted. I was then again on morphine, on oxycodone, and then finally kind of got a bit of relief from that, but still couldn't really properly walk. I still had that shooting pain. Had the scan, and it turns out it was a burst cyst. My ovaries are polycystic, and I had been internally bleeding, and there was a golf ball of blood behind my womb.
Oh my God, Ella.
And I was like, this is new. Okay, great. What was great at that point was I'd already got OvaryReaction. So I was able to be like, hi guys, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And that was a huge help. And then it was like the next 2 months, every time I ovulated, I burst cysts.
Every time?
Yeah. So for the next 2 months, so I had been in a London hospital, I've been in 2 London hospitals and 1 in Bournemouth. So I can kind of give like a good review of quite a few hospitals now. Like the hospital reviewer.
You're a human, like, walking, talking TripAdvisor.
Exactly. And I've got to say, not all hospitals are made equal for it either. And
interesting.
It's really interesting. So the hospital I was in London, I had a great experience with one of the doctors and a horrendous experience with another.
In the same hospital?
In the same hospital.
Interesting.
Both in gynecology.
Okay.
So one of them was the one who actually did the scan for the first time I went in and found out I had PCOS. And she was just incredible. It was the first time I'd ever met a doctor that I felt like listened to me, empathized with me, understood. And when she was suggesting things, I was like, I think I want to do some more research on this. And she was like, have a look at this article, have a look at this article. And it was just this transformative experience.
Wow.
And I was like, they're out there. They're out there in the world.
They do exist.
They're doing their job.
Yeah.
And that was a great pivotal moment, I think, for my relationship to the medical field with regards to my conditions, and being like, okay, so maybe it is a bit of a luck of the draw type of thing. Because then in the same hospital, when I went in the second time, the second month, and they tried to put me on a pill called, I think it's Dynagest or Dynagest.
Yes, yeah.
And I'd said, I don't want to take that because one of the main side effects is functional cysts. And I was saying, if I'm going to go on something, I'd like to try and stop any more cysts forming.
Yes.
Because my ovaries were pretty covered.
Yeah.
And I said no to that. And this consultant said, well, you're going to need to take something, this bad one. And I was like, okay.
Well, no,
okay.
you're not.
No. So then 6 o'clock the next morning, in my pill container, as I'm half asleep, Dynagest is in there after I'd said no.
What?
And I was half asleep, half drugged up on everything else. And because I'd been in there already for about 3 or 4 days, I was kind of in the routine of like, I've got 4 pills to take at this time. And there were 5. And I kind of got to the end of it. And I said to the nurse as she was leaving, hang on, what is this pill? And she said, oh, it's Dynagest. And I said, no, you're going to need to take this off of my chart because I've said I'm not taking Dynagest. And the fact that this has now been put in after I've said now on, I think it was 2 or 3 occasions, and separate conversations that I am not taking this pill. And it was in my pill in the hospital.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like Netflix documentary worthy.
Yeah.
That's dark.
I was shocked. Obviously didn't take it. But it was in my head, you know? I could have just taken it.
I mean, that breaks so many ethical, moral guidelines on so many levels.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Oh, Christ. Jesus, okay.
So then I go back to my GP and I kind of say to them at this point, okay, I'm now really looking at what hormonal options I've got, because at this point, you know, beforehand I was a really active person. I was in the gym pretty much most days. I was running, I was working all hours of the day, and I'm now bedbound and I can't do anything. And I'm like, I think I just want to try and get on top of things and just settle things down enough that I can get my old self back, even slightly.
Yeah.
Just get a bit of normality back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm really trying to look at now how, even just for 6 months, I can try and get on top of everything. But I don't want to take Dynagest. And it's really interesting because my GP said, oh yeah, we were actually writing to you to say that you're actually not eligible for Dynagest. So she said, great that you didn't take it. And I said, yeah, isn't it just?
You're not eligible. Is that because of the risk of clots?
I'm not entirely. We didn't get into it, but she said, yeah, we've had to take it off your prescription anyway because you're not eligible for that.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I beg your father's pardon. I'm really glad I didn't take it.
Sorry, say that again.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Bloody hell.
That was a bit of an ordeal. And now, since I've been on a new pill, I've not had any more burst cysts, thankfully.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Take that, mark that moment. That's excellent.
It was
because
great.
That's just horrific. And you don't need to visit any more hospitals around the UK. Like, it's lovely to have you here, but don't go to a Midlands hospital. Like, we don't need you to do that. But it makes my skin crawl. Like, my stomach feels all weird now thinking about the fact this guy was like, or was it a man or woman? Was it a woman?
It was a woman consultant.
I mean, we know both can, like, it's not gender specific.
No.
But I think as a woman, it always feels a bit more like,
but you know about this.
Like, woman to woman?
Know.
What?
Yeah.
I can't believe it was sneaked into your pill pot.
I mean, it was obviously prescribed. So technically it wasn't sneaked.
Well, yeah.
But it was to me who said no.
Well, yeah, to the nurse on the ward, she was like, oh, here's the list. I'll just, pop it in.
Yeah.
But you had explicitly been like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't want to take it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. We're taking a quick break to say thank you to today's sponsor, BU Period. When it comes to women's health, I'm obsessed with all things holistic and natural. My go-to product is BU's Pain Relief Patches. The combination of menthol and eucalyptus is pure bliss when an endo flare hits. Whether it's pelvic pain, back pain, leg pain, or anything else, they give me the instant and long-lasting relief I need. And you can even set up your own subscription so that you never run out of natural pain relief. If you want to get your hands on BU's patches, you can find the link in the show notes. And make sure you use the code INJAP10 to get your exclusive listener discount. Now let's get back to the girl chat. So since your surgery, you had a lot going on before surgery, obviously. That's the whole reason you had surgery. But since surgery, you've had like a lot going on.
It's been a hell of a year. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, even to try and get over my own head of being like, I know hormones don't work for me, but I need help right now. And I think there's also a lot of, it's kind of a 50-50 when you kind of talk about it online. Some people have the worst experiences. They're like, it is going to be the death of you as a person to go on any type of hormones. And others are like, it gave me my life back. And it's so different for every person.
Yeah.
I've tried, I think it's Regevidon. I've tried Microgynon. I've tried the implant. And I'm now on another pill called Eloine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I tried that.
Which has been a lifesaver for me in comparison to all of the others. On all the other pills and the implant, I became super anxious, super depressed. My periods were all over the place. And it was just like, I completely lost my sense of self. And I was like, at that point, it wasn't worth me being on the hormones for it. It was like a couple of days a month. Fine. So with Eloine, I really was kind of drawn to it in my research because it was, I think it's a half dose of the Yasmin. So if you're more sensitive to mood kind of changes, it's supposed to be a much better option and much more stable.
Yeah.
And I feel fine on this one. And it's given me enough of like a leg up to get back in the gym and like go and see my friends.
Yeah.
And you know, stress is a huge factor. So if I'm stressed, I'm still getting flare-ups, but I'm not bursting cysts.
Yeah.
You take every win.
I know, and it feels so unfair to almost celebrate the fact that it's like, oh, I've got like 70% of my symptoms that are still there and causing absolute havoc, but like maybe like 20% have gone. And you do have to celebrate those wins, otherwise it would just be depressing all the time, and no one would be able to deal with that. You have to take some positives, even if they're small. But you're right in terms of that, the contraception and hormonal drug treatment conversation when it comes to endo and PCOS and all women's health conditions. It's a lot on socials. Like people almost draw like battle lines. It's like you have to like almost pick a side. And I, especially on the podcast, I don't want us to do that. I want to hear equally positive stories and negative, because the reality is that unless you try something and you take it yourself, you're not going to know what happens, because your body is completely different to mine. Exactly. You know, I was similar to you in the fact that I tried all the different pills and like hormonal stuff, and majority of them had an awful effect on me. Like what you said, mental health. I became paranoid and really anxious and really angry, and it was horrible. But then I've had the Mirena coil for years, and given I had it implanted during surgery, which I would highly recommend, but that worked for me. And, you know, I've come off it for different reasons now because I want to be natural, but it did work for me, and it did help my quality of life. But we talked to another lady, and one of our biggest clips on socials is thousands of comments of people saying the Mirena coil is absolutely horrific and barbaric and I hate it. So you're always going to get both.
This is it. And I think speaking about horrific and barbaric, I
could have put money that you would have had a story about that.
I just think there's so much that still feels so medieval in women's health.
Yes.
And, you know, like, how do we not have something better than a speculum?
I know.
In 2026? Like, and I just think, you know, having these battle lines of things, it's something I've found with OvaryReaction too. And it's a lot of the thing we've seen online has been, you know, a lot of it is to do with negative experiences. And so many people have negative experiences. But we also really want to bring to light the positive experiences.
Yeah.
And kind of have this sense of, this has been really rubbish, but let's look at some good things that have happened, and let's see if we can find a way that we can try and intersect and bridge these for you.
Yes.
To try and help you get to this positive point too.
Yeah.
For even a day, maybe. Just a few hours.
bit of light and shade.
Yeah.
But it's exactly like you said. In one hospital, the perfect example of that is you had a great doctor who was phenomenal, and you loved every interaction with her, and she was great at her job. And then unfortunately you had the other side to that, of which we talk about a lot and is a big problem. But there's always both sides. Always.
I mean, even the hospital I had my surgery at was a different one. It was in Norfolk. And
you love to travel, don't you?
I'm a lady all over the place.
Lady of leisure, just traveling the UK.
And, you know, I got out of the surgery. It was back in the kind of like, what is it called?
Recovery room?
No, it wasn't. It was like back on the ward.
Oh, okay.
But it's supposed to be a day procedure, right?
Yeah.
So it was an insanely invasive surgery, which they kind of tell you it's a day procedure, you can go home after, which I think is hugely misleading for so many women because it is hugely invasive, especially if they're peeling things off of your organs.
Yeah. I mean, a diagnostic laparoscopy, if you just did a diagnostic,
have a look.
Just looking around, it's invasive, but you can go home the next day because hopefully they've been careful and they haven't moved too many things around.
Yeah.
You're not going to be comfy.
Yeah.
But to do removal, that is a whole other ball game.
Yeah. So I was there on the ward, and the nurse came around and said, well, you need to have a biscuit because you need to go home soon. Mind you, I couldn't even like shuffle in my bed. I couldn't move at all.
Oh my God.
I could hardly even lift my head because of my abs. And she was like, well, have a custard cream. Have a custard cream. And I couldn't eat because I felt so sick. And, you know, it's a truly humbling experience. Then having to stay in, thankfully I had a really lovely nurse on the night shift, and she gave me a nice bell, which I felt like a, you know, Victorian lady. I was like, ring my bell for a bedpan, mind you. Which was no fun. But it's like, you know, they say, well, you can just get up and use the commode. And I'm like, I can't actually move. Like, there's not a chance.
And it's just the irony, isn't it? I mean, I've never had an excision, because I've always had excision. I've never had removal surgery where I've left the same day. I personally don't think that should be a thing because it's a lot more complex. Things can go wrong. You know, I've had catheters and all sorts, so you have to kind of wait to see if everything is okay. But like, what's hilarious when you think about it is they're literally operating 9 times out of 10, unless obviously it's in other organs, on an area where it's literally, these are your abdomen.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally going in, ripping things apart,
Yeah.
like moving things. So any ab strength, even the best like gym bunny in the world,
Yep.
any ab strength you had before surgery is now gone.
Yeah.
Or like temporarily no longer there.
On pause.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you can't do anything.
No.
I don't know if you had this, but I had to I've like nailed the technique now of how to get out of a bed after hospital. Oh, yeah. It's the like, bring the knees up gradually, go on your side in absolute agony, and then kind of hope that someone's there to kind of like bring push you up right. I mean, the fact that you could just nip up, go to the toilet, and then, you know,
grab a coffee. On your way out if you don't mind.
Get back into bed.
This is it. And I think, you know, there's a lot to talk about in terms of what happens when people go home. Yeah. Too. And if you're at home by yourself, I was incredibly fortunate that I was at my mum's for that time and she was taking care of me because, you know, you can't get your site of the surgery wet, but you need to wash because you've been in bed sweating for a week. And, you know, I was 22 years old and my mum was like giving me a bath. And it's like, and if you don't have someone to take care of you, I think they, in the hospital, when they tell you about the laparoscopy, whether it's diagnostic or an excision, and they tell you that it's, you know, it's kind of minimally invasive really, and it's not that bad. But the realities of it are you are completely flawed and you do need someone to take care of you. And the pain that I don't think that they tell you about afterwards either is just like, it's just horrific. I mean, talking about, this is a funny story, talking about the abs.
We like funny. We like bring a little bit of funny.
Thinking about the kind of ab strength that you've got. So obviously being at my mum's, my wonderful angel mother, would read me bedtime stories as like a fun little joke after surgery to try and comfort me when I'm like lying there like hair a mess, all sweaty, thinking I feel like death. And so it had this story from when I was a kid. It was like 50 great bedtime stories. She'd sit next to me in her bed and she opened it up. She opened the title, read it out to me. She went, okay, today we're going to read Anal and the Genie. And I was like, what? Obviously, can't have... She went, oh, sorry, my mum's dyslexic. Oh, sorry, Amal and the Genie, I apologise. And like, you can't laugh. And we were like, I was like, dying with laughter next to her. I had to send her out of the bedroom because I was like, we just can't read this today. Shush. And then before she went out, she did start to read it and it was like, so anal this morning got on his red cup. And I was like, oh my God, get out, Mum, get out. But it's like having that community. Yeah. Whether it's your mum, whether it's your best friend, whether it's your partner, and having somebody to take care of you through that time because you're vulnerable and you're emotional and, you know, kind of like your whole world has just changed.
Yeah, but it is all those little things. I mean, that is hilarious. Like, yeah, you can't, don't make me laugh because that's just like, it's like cruel, it's like cruelty. Yeah. But it's like, we don't talk about the fact that like after you've had any kind of removal, that first wee after surgery, it's terrifying. God. No, like, it doesn't matter how many times I've had surgery or how many removals I've had, every time they're like, right, the catheter's been removed, we need you to go and see if your bladder can like do it itself. Yeah. It's a very nervous moment where you're like, I feel like I might burst all my cysts or like all my stitches, or this could be excruciating. And it's fine. Like it has been fine. Yeah. But it's like that panic moment. Or just the fact that how do you clean your wounds? Or the fact that there's like so many little things that we don't talk about that have a massive effect.
This is it. The whole process from start to finish is just like a hugely invasive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't tell you that. They're just like, here's your discharge forms, here's a few prescriptions, and good luck. I mean, some people get wound care advice, but the amount of women that have talked to us and said, they literally gave me no information about how to care for my wounds. Yeah. Or that was, I mean, it's highly embarrassing, but it's so relevant. After my last excision surgery, obviously, because I have endo on my bowel, you have to do a horrible medication beforehand, which basically like forces your bowels to be completely empty for surgery, which is vile the day before. It tastes absolutely god awful and just the experience is not pleasant. And then you have surgery and they operate on the bowel, and then afterwards, obviously, because your body's like freaked out, everything's frozen, so like digestion isn't working, and obviously nothing is going to happen for quite a few days because your body's like, we're not doing anything because you've messed with us. So you have to take this disgusting like laxative drink thing that they have. And I was like taking it every day, and like nothing was happening for quite a few days after. And you feel like crap because obviously if all those toxins and things have been stuck in your body, I was like, I feel awful. My mum was looking after me and she was like, right, come on. She was like, we will eat and drink anything that will like get this moving. Because obviously you can't walk. I couldn't get up and move around, which would have helped. So I literally was like, I was eating dates, I was eating apricots, I was like, had this like fibre thing that I could like put in a smoothie. Like, I was like doing everything, right? Yeah, I was doing the works. Well, we went a little bit too far the other way. So then the first time I literally, and then that was really scary because I got up in the middle of the night and then it was like, we've had too much like fibre and laxative, because then the first time was excruciatingly painful. And then I was on the bathroom floor, passed out, covered in sweat, because then it was almost like my body had gone too far the other way. But there was no conversation about that, about like, how much can you do at home? How long do you wait before you panic that basically you haven't been to the toilet and you're thinking, what's the effect of that? But like, that was an awful experience. And then obviously you then think, oh my God, have I damaged the surgery? Have I done something internal? You know?
I guess it's so unique for every person too. Everyone's got different lines and you're going, well, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Let's talk about overreaction.
Okay.
Because like I said, you started it 2 months, or no, 2 days.
It was 2 days after surgery from my mum's bed.
2 days after surgery. I mean, if you've got time on your hands, why not?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it. What is it? What do you want to achieve with it? What's the purpose?
So I'm super excited about OvaryReaction. It has grown so fast, which I think is a huge testament to the need for advocacy in this space too. So it's a charity structure where myself and now my co-founder Alice, we're basically bringing events that are going to be hosting experts for women with endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, adenomyosis, any type of chronic hormonal condition, and also bringing a sense of community. Amazing. And it has been an incredible experience to hear from other women in the comments and hear from their experiences, you know, when I was going in for my burst cysts and then being like, oh, well, I had this experience with this. Have you tried this? And I think for people who are newly diagnosed, being able to converse with people in a kind of really low-key and low-effort way with other people who have already been there and can give advice is hugely invaluable. Yeah. And a lot of what we want to do moving forward is corporate advocacy. Interesting. A huge part of my drive to start my own company was, well, I can't work in a corporate structure. I can't have 2 days off a month and a random flare-up. And there are so many women that can't get out of that. And that's, you know, for whatever reason, this is what they're stuck with. And that shouldn't be the case. There needs to be more that employers are doing. There needs to be more leeway. It needs to be taken more seriously. And I think even just things like more workshops for people to understand what this actually means, not even necessarily from a productivity side, but from a physical side and then the after effects that does have. And I don't think there's enough out there at the moment that's doing that. And it's not taken seriously enough in school. It's not taken seriously enough in the workplace. And OvaryReaction, longer term, really wants to challenge that in England. Amazing. And finally make more of a change and just kind of make life easier for women with these conditions.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, income, finances, career is a massive part of, we've talked about identity, we've talked about just paying the bills and having a roof over your head. You know, that corporate element is massive because, like you say, either women are stuck in that environment for whatever reason, have to stay in that job, or actually we might just want to have a corporate career. Like, I loved it when I was in corporate. Like, I had a great time, aside from all the problems that came with being completely burnt out and all the sacrifices you have to make to keep that career. But like you say, if you could do some fundamental groundwork with those corporates, maybe people wouldn't have to make such sacrifices.
This is what I'm thinking. And I just think there's an element that it's seen as something that we can't talk about. You know, even when I started posting about OvaryReaction on LinkedIn, like, I have my own company. Nobody else is going to be employing me. But I still had a sense of this initial pang of, well, what if somebody sees this and thinks it's unprofessional? And the reason that I keep posting about it is because I'm not going to let that stop me. I want to show people that shouldn't have any effect. And it thankfully doesn't have an effect for me because I'm employed by myself. But it needs to get to a point where that doesn't have an effect for any woman. Yeah. You know, I think I saw a video of Grace Beverley talking about even the fact that now her investors know that she's looking to start a family.
Oh my God, I saw that video.
And how this is now going to impact her career. And it's all of these different things of you know, what we're given as women to deal with, whether it's, you know, how we're choosing to live our life, whether we want a family, or the conditions that we've now got. And it's, well, how is this affecting the dreams that we have? And how can we all find a way collectively to find a way to not have to hinder our dreams because of our conditions? That's the main goal of OvaryReaction.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've, like I said, you've had some incredible reaction on social media.
Yeah.
And literally within like days and weeks of starting it was huge, which is amazing.
I think it was the first 72 hours, we'd already had 1.7 million in reach.
Oh my God.
Within 6 weeks, we'd already had 300,000 in active engagement and already 3 million reach at that point.
On the sideline, can you teach me how to do that? Like, that is magic.
It was like incredible
God.
reception of it. And I think that really spoke to how necessary it is in the space.
Yeah.
And how much people just need a sense of, oh, you're also going through this too. And I think that's what's so great about It's Not Just a Period podcast. It's another avenue of how can we share these experiences and bring light to these different things and find a way that we don't have to change who we are and the dreams that we have, and how can we retain that sense of self in a way that we've been put this coat on and we don't know how to take it off.
Yeah. And also eliminate, I definitely can relate to that. And a big thing for me is eliminating the need for this toxic competitiveness that sometimes can happen between ourselves. Like, we've got enough problems. We've talked about them the whole episode about the external world and the external factors that make women's health a challenge. But we also then don't need to bring it in-house and be like squabbling between ourselves about who's worse off or who's got the most extreme story or the most shocking surgery or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's about those communities, isn't it? It's like, we need to talk about the realities of how bad and difficult things can be. But like you say, we need the positive as well, because we need hope and we need to look forward. You need all of it kind of mashed together, really.
Absolutely.
So how old is OvaryReaction at the moment?
At the moment, it's 6 months old. Wow. It is a baby still. It is a baby in motion. So
I mean, it's early doors, but like already made so much progress for 6 months.
Yeah, obviously we had our launch event in November, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Which was incredible and had a great reception as well. And that was more kind of an introduction to OvaryReaction. Yeah. Let's get some of the London-based women in a room, chat more about what it is we're trying to do, get people chatting with each other. And it was kind of also for OvaryReaction to see what do women need and what do they want.
Yes.
And, you know, we did a workshop and that was incredibly insightful for the type of things that women have experienced and that they want tackled in the workplace or they want tackled in a social space. And we're obviously kind of looking forward now at what the event's going to be for this year and, you know, how we can kind of bridge that. And obviously Endometriosis Awareness Month in March is coming up.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time to get stuff in the works. It's next month.
I don't know how it's next month.
Crikey. But yeah, it's definitely getting traction and we're just kind of keeping pushing it and seeing where it can go. I think it's got a hugely bright future.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't know if you can tell us, but I imagine you've got some very exciting things planned for 2026, or you're in the process of planning things at the moment.
So we're looking more towards partnerships at the moment for this year. Obviously, as a charity structure, we're self-funding currently until we're getting partners and donations. But partnered events are something that we're hugely interested in. Okay. I think as somebody with endometriosis and PCOS, there are so many products and so many brands that I use, and I think, oh, well, I wonder if there's a brand like this that actually maybe would be better than the one I'm using. And actually finding products and brands that do make a difference too. And it's like, well, I'm trying to find the best TENS machine. And it's like I'm trying out 4 or 5 at the moment. And then once I settle on the best one, I think I'll reach out to the brand and go, love to do an event. Here's the audience that we've got. And I'm insanely obsessed with this. So I think it's going to be a great year for bringing in experts on panel talks and collaborating with brands that can actually tangibly make a difference.
Yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of what I've seen, even in my own experience after being diagnosed with PCOS, was a huge factor of, well, now I don't know what to eat.
Yeah.
You're told be on this anti-inflammatory diet. And I'm not one for recipe books. Like, I struggle with a recipe.
Yeah.
I'm just a throw it in and see what you get type of girl. So I kind of sat down one night and I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be eating now. So I'm actually working on an app myself at the moment.
Amazing.
Which...
busy girl.
A busy lady. Travelling all around the hospitals and doing many a thing. So finally women are going to be able to, you know, have a look at the different foods they can eat on demand.
Yes.
And it's all trying to find a way of how can we make the lives of women with these conditions easier.
Yeah, like, please just simplify it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's amazing we have so many people in the space that are talking and advocating and doing all these different things. But I mean, like, the programs that are available, the hacks that people talk about, the nutrition things that, I mean, it is mind-blowing. Yeah. And that's why so far we've kind of steered away from, like, the nutrition expert kind of talk. Yeah. Not because it's not an important conversation, it's such an important conversation. And I find it really interesting how food can be used as medicine. Yeah. But I just feel like I almost don't want to add to the noise because it's so loud already. Yeah. How do you wade your way through it?
This is it.
Because everyone's got an opinion.
Everyone's got an opinion, and there are so many experts too, which is fantastic. And obviously, what I found from my experience at looking at a lot of the experts are it's been driven out of their own experiences. Yeah. Which are obviously very different to my experience and my needs. And I think unless you're going direct with a nutritionist, for example, then you kind of need to be a bit careful in a sense, because what works great for them might not work great for you. I think a huge part of what Ovata Health is going to become, this app, is it's based on your kind of, you're logging in, you're choosing your hormone profile, you know, what conditions have you got. You can track your cycle in it too. And you can then go into a supermarket. It's a bit like, you know, for example, how you have Yucca with the e-numbers. You scan a barcode and it will tell you what's the better option. Okay. You're going to be able to go into your Ovata Health app, scan the back of a barcode or the ingredients, and it's going to be able to tell you against your cycle and your hormone profile if there's a better part or a better dinner for you, better snack, where you are in your cycle, and to kind of streamline.
That's amazing.
And it's kind of like, you know, I go into a supermarket and I'm going, well, I'm supposed to have broccoli or a sweet potato today. I don't bloody know. And just to be able to, like, whip something out your pocket and go, here I am in my cycle, here are my conditions. Against that, well, this might be better for me now. And then you can kind of whip something up together without a recipe. Yeah. And again, it's just like, how can you make things easier for women whose lives have now all of a sudden become insanely difficult?
Yeah, and it's so complicated. Like, we don't need anything else to think about. Like, I really don't need another to-do list or another chore or task to be like, oh, by the way, you're not quite nailing this element of your life. You need to kind of, like, up the kind of exercise you do, or you need to up the kind of nutrition. Like, let's just keep things simple. Yeah. So that sounds amazing. Yeah. That's very exciting. As we come towards the end of the episode, I do have a podcast tradition, and I'm very intrigued to see what your answer is to this. I think it'll be very good. So if you could imagine that I'm not sat here, I'm not in this chair. Okay. If you imagine a young version of Ella is here, whether she's 12, 14, whatever age you want to pick, if you could talk to her and say anything to her, what would it be?
Gosh, I might cry if I do that. Oh my God. I think I would probably say to her, you're not crazy. I think a huge part of my whole journey has been helping other women feel believed. And I think I would say, you're not crazy and you got a long road ahead of you, but you're doing what you think is best to help other women. And I think that's always been a huge drive for me of, you know, how can I use what happens to me to help others? And I think that's the core of OvaryReaction. And I think I would say to her, you're doing a great job at helping others in a way that brings a little bit of lightness to something that you've always felt has been extraordinarily heavy. And I would probably say to her, I'm very proud of you for hanging on in there when painkillers didn't work. Good job, girl.
Yeah, well done. Well done for just hanging on in there and keep going. Yeah. Amazing advice. You've been incredible. Like, it's
so much
one of my favourite chats, so thank you.
I'm so glad. I've had such a good time.
I'm so glad.
So great.
I loved our girl chat this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to hit the follow button wherever you're listening. To find out more about us or today's guest, then head to the show notes. Until next time, I'm Alexandra, and remember, it's not just a period.